interrupting the show for a special report.
Because now it is time for Bag Lab.
All right, tonight's Bag Lab is a great interview that I did with my friend Shova about waxed canvas. I actually have a couple of waxed canvas bags over here. My friend Michelle Tripp from Barabooboo Designs. I've linked to Michelle's social media in the description. Michelle made me these two bags in waxed canvas. These are the actual waxed canvas fabrics that we carry in the shop. This is the Marlin backpack size. Oh gosh, I wonder if this is size large or small. I haven't seen these bags in a while. I think this might be size large. Michelle sewed these great patches on the front of the front pocket. Here's what the back looks like. The great thing about waxed canvas is it often takes on a distressed look. Here's another bag that Michelle made for me. This is the Sheffield tool bag. I love the combination of the print fabric with the different colors of the waxed canvas. And it's definitely a sturdier fabric. I pulled out some of the waxed canvas from the shop just so that I could show you live on the show. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera really quick. And because I was taking photographs, actually, Danny, can you zoom out if that fits in the... There you go. That's awesome. Okay, so I actually distressed this myself because I wanted to take pictures on our website with the fabric smooth and also the fabric distressed, such as when you're turning the fabric right side out through, say, the opening in the lining. It gets a little bit distressed, and I feel like that's what makes it a unique fabric. So here's that backpack again. There's not a huge amount of distressing that you can see on it, but obviously you can make it more or less if you try to gently turn your bag right side out. But you can see some of the distressing here on the front pocket. And we have 9 colors in the shop. So that one was the amber color in the backpack. I would say maybe this color or the navy have been the most popular so far. And the navy's a fantastic color. I really love the navy especially. This one's brown. Here we've got black. This green one's great also. And then we've got 2 more, this light gray, and there's also a lighter brown color in the shop called Saddle. But I wanted to talk to my friend Shova because she's used a lot of wax canvas for her projects. And by the way, I've linked to Shova's social media in the description, so I hope you'll check out Shova's YouTube channel after the show. But here's my interview with Shova about wax canvas. It's a lengthy interview just because I wanted to cover all of your questions that you've been asking me over in our Facebook group. So we covered all the questions. So I hope you enjoy this interview about wax canvas. All right, today I have Shova joining me. In case you missed our last interview together, we had a great chat last time about waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas. So in case you're interested in that but missed it the first time, go ahead and check that out. I'm linking to that in the description, as well as linking to Shova's social media in the description as well, so that you can check out her channel. But thanks so much for joining me today. I know you are the expert on a lot of different substrates besides waterproof canvas. So today we're going to be talking about waxed canvas, which is, I've used it a few times, but I definitely wouldn't call myself super familiar with it. So I really appreciate you joining me today to talk about it.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to share any info I can.
Okay, so before our interview, I asked in the So Sweetness Facebook group what questions people had about waxed canvas, and there were a ton of questions. So we're going to jump right in and get started. And these are just no specific order, just I guess the questions as they came through on Facebook. So for someone that's new to the substrate, what exactly is waxed canvas?
Wax canvas is basically a paraffin, and depending on what blend you get, it's an oil base that you rub into the fabric to make it cure to be water resistant. It takes anywhere from 48 hours to 72 hours to cure. Wax canvas is, think of wax canvas as It's very similar to leather, except it's just vegan friendly. It has the
Mhm.
same like features every time you wax something, it doesn't come out the same color. There's different textures, crinkles, wrinkles,
Mhm.
and it's just water resistant and a very durable fabric once you do the treatment.
Um, so I've seen different weights of wax canvas. What do the different weights mean, and which are your personal favorites for sewing bags with?
I like the heavier weights. The way they have it is the lighter weights are anywhere from, I wrote this down. Hold on. I write down everything. Um, Lighter weights are about like 5, 6 ounce, 8 ounces like medium weight. Anything over 10 ounce is heavyweight. I like all of them. They all could be something a little bit different. Like I personally like to do the persimmons in a lighter weight material
Okay.
because it makes it a little bit more flexible and durable. So if someone's using it for like their makeup or whatever, it can help. You can have the most room and a little bit more stretch. The thicker the material, the more sturdier it gets. So
Okay.
it could not provide, a lot of room if for a persimmon or things along that line because it's a little bit more sturdier.
Oh, okay. I understand. Do you need a special sewing machine foot to sew with the wax canvas?
No, I know that it's gonna sound weird. It's any foot, no matter what foot you use, your feed dog is going to leave some kind of mark. You can like usually rub these out with your fingers, hips, because the heat from your hand will melt the wax. But no matter what foot you use, if you use a Teflon foot or not, or if you even have Teflon feed dogs, which I know some people do for their mini Jukies, um, it's gonna leave some kind of mark.
Okay, so seeing the feed dogs on there, it's not cause for alarm or that someone did something wrong. It's just that's just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just going to happen. Like if you talk to leather makers who sew on industrial machines, sometimes the leather gets indentations from the feed dog or their walking foot, and it's just a part of the process. And I wouldn't be sad about it. That's the whole point of
Mhm.
wax canvas is to get that wrinkled, aged
Okay.
look. So it's just part of it.
Okay, that makes sense. So a big question people had, does the wax gum up the needle or does the wax get into the bottom portion of the sewing machine and need to be cleaned out after you make a project with wax canvas?
Yes, but not as much as people think it is. It usually takes 1 or 2 projects for of using wax canvas.
Hmm.
Although I do tell people to clean their machine afterwards. I like to use these Q-tip things to clean
Okay.
inside where the needle bar is, and then I like to unscrew where my feed dogs are and just really get it out, clean it out with a little lint brush or whatnot,
Okay.
just like you would do with any other cleaning. And you can use alcohol wipes on your needle if you want to continue to use that needle.
Oh, okay. So otherwise, if they don't want to clean the needle, just replace it after the wax canvas project?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
really bad at replacing my needles. I'm not gonna lie. I know it's a huge thing, but I'm really bad at it.
I
I don't
totally
know
get
why.
it. Okay, so it doesn't sound as bad as I think people were thinking, like uh, kind of tearing up the sewing machine, just a few swipes and it's clean. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a few swipes. Of course, like your Jukis, the single needle, the straight stitch machines, I feel like do a little bit better. I sew with my Bernino 1008. That is like a 1990 all metal, similar to the
Okay.
QVP minis, and I have no issue. With the brothers that I have that are more computerized, I'm just a little bit more careful and make sure I do clean afterwards so that
Okay.
no buildup comes up on the machine.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so we just started carrying wax canvas in our shop and we ship it rolled. However, if you have some wax canvas that was folded, how do you get the folds out? Is that something that needs to be taken care of right away before you start cutting out your
Yeah,
pieces?
I would unfold it and then just lightly put on the hair dryer to a medium setting, put
Okay.
a Teflon sheet over the wax canvas and kind of just lightly go over the like you're blow drying your hair and then just use your hands on over the Teflon sheet to get out the creases. But again, the whole point of the wax
Mm-hmm.
canvas, if you get
Yeah.
it in your head that it's similar to leather, it gives it more character. The more wrinkles and the more crinkles, the more masculine or feminine, how you play around with it.
Okay. Can you iron on it? And if so, what iron setting? Or do you need to use pressing cloths and parchment paper also?
Yeah, pressing cloths and parchment paper on very low settings, because generally when we are applying the wax canvas
Hmm.
onto the canvas, we're brushing in the oils into it. So when you use heat, it like remelts, so it needs time to
Okay.
cure. So if it's a small spot, you don't have to worry about curing. But if it is a bigger spot, that's say more than $1, you're gonna want to let it set for 24, 48 hours, so that
Oh.
way the wax can cure into the fibers again.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. Okay, that's a good thing to note. Um, After birthing a bag, are there, I know we already talked about that's part of the character, but do you ever
Mhm.
find that there's any issues with permanent creases? Or is it kind of what
No,
you wanted to have happen?
yeah, you kind of want the permanent creases, kind of like when
Okay.
you, again, the best way I could say is pulled up leather. When you see those in the magazine and you see like the men duffel bags or briefcase and how it's
Hmm.
all stretched out, that's exactly what wax canvas does. Actually, some of the leather process is very similar to the wax canvas when they treat it. It's interesting on that alone. But yeah, you can again hit it with a blow dryer, or some people have like the heating tools for when they paper craft, like it's a little air dryer to help with
Oh, I
foiling
know
and
what you're
whatnot.
talking about. Okay.
Yeah, be careful with that because those settings usually are just like warm and hot. Always choose to
Oh,
go for the lighter settings so that you're not like making you're not disturbing the wax as much as you should. So I mean as you
okay.
shouldn't.
Okay, so if they don't have different settings on a paper crafting tool, just better to use the hair dryer at the lowest setting.
Yeah,
Okay,
I usually use the hair dryer. It's easier and then there's more settings on there so that you
right.
can gauge it better.
Can you remove stitches if you make a mistake? Like if you need to rip a
You
seam?
You can. I have ripped seams, and then I've actually used like my hand friction to like trying to get the wax to cover up the holes again.
Okay,
Um, that sometimes works. Sometimes I use the back of an eraser to
okay,
to help just redistribute it. But your hands are your greatest tools when it comes down to wax canvas.
okay. Um, do you think most, in your opinion, do you think most domestic machines can handle it? And, or do you have any tips to make it easier to work with? Especially, for instance, like easing through the curves?
I think like you teach us, like you snipping your curves,
Mhm.
like little snips, like 1/8 of an inch could help spread the
Like
seam
the straight
allowance and make
edge?
it more
Yeah.
even. Yeah. But I think most domestics can handle it. Like I have not seen a domestic that will not be able to handle it. It's a very cool fabric. It has a lot of benefits. A lot of people like to use it and not add interfacing or
Okay.
use like sew-in interfacing. But I feel like it's super domestic friendly.
Okay. And what size needle do you usually recommend? Obviously, it probably depends on the different weights, but just if you could give us a general idea.
I like denim needles,
Okay.
or 116 or 118 needles, like you said, depending on the thickness of the material. But denim needles, I don't think, I wouldn't recommend anything probably other than that. You can try extra sharp if you wish,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like any ordinary organ needle will work just fine.
Oh, okay. Um, have you, in your personal sewing with wax canvas, have you ever had any problems with skip stitches?
No, I think that
Okay.
has a lot to do with your like needle size and your thread size
Okay.
sometimes.
And if it's used in the finished bag, how should that bag be washed or dried? And do you have any additional tips for spot cleaning?
Yes, definitely don't wash it in the washing machine. I know we're used to doing that with the cotton bags, but
Hmm.
no, you can't do that. Usually you can use like a brush. There are brushes that you can get anywhere at leather supply store,
Okay.
any sewing store, and you can use a brush to brush off the debris. If it's a really bad stain, you can try to use like a mild detergent like a Dawn and a
Okay.
little bit of water and rub it with like a Q-tip or
Oh,
a
okay.
slightly with a cloth. And if you get like an oil base, put cornstarch on it and let it sit for 48 hours and then you can brush it off.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm writing notes for all this stuff too.
Oh, no, no, no problem. Yeah,
Um,
I
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, no, I was just saying, the first time I was playing around with wax canvas, I was like, oh, let me put it in the sink and like wash it. And yeah, that went horrible for me. So it wasn't the best. It seemed like the wax like had an instant reaction to being submerged into the water. So it was like trying to separate from the cotton. And I was like, oh wow, okay.
Oh, okay.
So it was a very interesting um experiment that I guess scarred me where I don't usually I don't submerge anything anymore.
That's
So,
funny.
but it was pretty cool.
Are there any types of projects that wax canvas should not be used for that you can think of?
No, I actually think that it could be made with any bags. You could even get into making a rain slicker or a jacket out of it. Like, there's a lot of cool like features that you can use for it. I mean, not a quilt, obviously.
Yeah.
I say obviously, but somebody out there probably was like, "Ooh, I want to quit with it." That would have been me like a few years ago. But yes, like there's a lot of projects you can make. I really do think it's a beautiful project. And I was looking at some of your patterns and like the sky harbor. I was like, I wonder if I used like some of your you have I noticed that you have wax canvas, but like mixing it with some Tula fabric and it would
Oh,
just I
yeah.
think would just pop like in the corners and I mean the zipper sides, the whole nine yards.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that. Um, can it be used for a strap? And would you recommend 4 layers, like how we normally do like a quilting cotton strap? Do you think that's too much?
No, actually, I think it's perfect. It is going to have a lot of wear, because you know how we have the strap on our shoulder. So
Mm-hmm.
you just want to be cognizant of that. With any bag that's well used, I have bags that I have to like spot wax, reapply wax once a year. I have a bag that I have never had a re-wax, but that if you have it as a strap, it is going to have a lot of wear. And if any of like us are making it for like a family friend gift or a purchase, you just want to be cognizant of that and maybe tell your um, customer that if it has wear or tear, bring it back to you so you can re-wax that spot so they can continue to wear the bag.
Is it when you talk about wear in the strap area, is that because of the body heat, like because it's on your shoulder, or is that just because it's getting moved around a lot in that area?
Both, from your
Okay.
body heat and the friction going back and forth, and just kind of like our cotton straps. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can, if a person really loves that bag and wears it day in and day out, and let's say
Mm-hmm.
they're harder on the bag, it's going to show a little bit more wear versus the one that's a little
Okay.
bit more gentler. So it just depends on the person. I'm really rough on my bags, like really rough.
Do you think in that case, do you think it might be not a bad idea to have like a double-sided strap, like the wax canvas on the top part for the strap and
I
like maybe
think,
a quilting cotton on the bottom?
yeah, I actually think that will work out really well
Okay.
because, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm
Okay.
now thinking about it, I think that's a perfect idea. Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna get more stabil like the stabilizing fabric is going to be the wax, but then the
Hmm.
cotton will help with the friction and it should be a really nice strap,
Okay.
like
Okay.
really feel luxurious kind of.
Okay. Um, so we're speaking about straps. I'm thinking about the double-sided strap. Maybe you could have interfacing on the quilting cotton side, but on the flip side with the wax canvas, would you use interfacing on it? And are there any interfacings to stay away from if you're using wax canvas?
Yes, you cannot iron anything with onto the fabric. So iron-ons are no go. I know that
Mm-hmm.
right now in the sewing community, the 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 sticky webby, like not the sticky interfacings where it's like foam or canvas that you put on there will not work. Neither will like the magic tape or double-sided tape because
Mm.
again, it's a wax base and it's just not going to adhere to anything. But you can do sew-ins. There's tons of
Okay.
sew-ins at Joann's and you can just do that. Or what I use a lot is muslin. I'll just use that as a
Mm.
stabilizer on top of that, and it's cost efficient that way as well.
Okay, so you just use the muslin as a sew-in and that gives it a little bit more body.
Yeah, I'll do the 1/8 of an inch all the way around,
Okay,
and it's now stabilized.
got it. What's your opinion about it being used to line pouches? Like if someone wanted to make a little pouch and have it as the lining,
I
though.
actually I just seen that. I just seen that at So Magical actually. I
Okay.
was like complimenting someone on their pouch, and the inside was wax canvas, and they said they like it because they can just spot clean,
Okay.
and the whole bag was made out of wax canvas, the outside, the inside, and it had
Oh, okay.
great stability with no interfacing. And I was like,
Oh,
wow, this is amazing. It looks so good. And it actually prompted me to put some projects in to put it inside. I think it'll be a pretty cool bag, actually, and you'll
okay.
get really good stabilization.
If they are using it for a lining, what weight of wax canvas do you think they should possibly try?
I would try a lighter weight in the inside versus the out. So, like, I would use a 10 on the outside and something that's 5 or 6 ounces,
Okay.
which is usually quilt cotton that someone waxed in for the
Okay.
inside.
Okay. Okay. Um, so you kind of touched on before, like replenishing the look, but specifically, how can you replenish the look of a bag made using wax canvas, say like a year or two down the line, if you kind of just want to refresh it? Um, how do you do that, and how often do you think a bag would need to be re-waxed?
I want to always say, like, if you have a person like me that's kind of rough with the bag, like I
Hmm.
throw my purse into the car and it's just Loki has it, or some one of the like one of the kids are in my bag and I'm really rough on it. I would say you're gonna probably re-wax certain spots once maybe once a year or once every 2 years. And how you
Okay.
do it is you get the wax bars and you're going to rub the wax bar like a piece of soap in one
Okay.
direction on the spot you're redoing it.
Okay.
Heat up with an iron. You're going to seal it in, and then it needs to cure for at least 48 hours to 72 hours, and then you just go about your day. You could take it off. It's pretty cool. Once it cures and solidifies, then you're done. Here,
Okay.
it's a very interesting thing. It's just usually a wax bar. You can get it at
Mm.
like boating places like Sellrite or
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay.
Some places that you get like fishing gear at, because that's
Okay.
actually how wax canvas came to be,
Oh,
like
okay.
from fishermen.
So re-waxing, you mentioned like if you need to fix a couple spots. So are you generally just re-waxing smaller areas or not? So not the whole bag?
Yeah, I would re-wax just the smaller areas. If the
Okay.
wax, it just depends. Like if the bottom of the bag is just where it has the most action and where it's getting the most
Okay.
um, like getting the most rough treatment, that's
Mm-hmm.
the area that I'll re-wax. Again, just the bar, heat it like you
Okay.
would with an iron, and then of course parchment paper over it,
Okay.
and then set it in a place so it can just cure, like a basement or a table where kids won't be able to touch, and
Okay.
um, ship the curing session, which is usually again 48 to 72 hours.
The areas that were re-waxed, do they look slightly different? Like, is it like patchy looking in color at least?
No,
From
actually, that's once it because the color usually sometimes during the process of the
Mhm.
waxing, the first initial waxing usually either get darker or lighter. It varies from each time, but like after it cures to that color, when you re-wax, what I found out is that I haven't seen a difference in color. So I don't
Oh,
know if it's
okay.
because it got brought to its highest level of pigment. I'm not too sure. Pigmentation, I'm not too sure on that, but I have
Okay.
not seen it
Oh,
like
okay.
change color.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you already mentioned the persimmon dumpling pouch and the Sky Harbor. Are there any other soul sweetness patterns off the top of your head that you would maybe recommend for someone that wanted to try a soul sweetness pattern with wax canvas, maybe for like the first time?
I would try the two door, like,
Oh,
because it's
okay.
such a big open space that I feel like it would be perfect for it. And also you can play around with color blocking on the sides or,
Okay.
and on the bottom of the bag. I feel like there's a lot of, interesting. Pretty much, I think all your bags could be perfect for it, but like that popped in my head right away was a two door. And I'm curious, like, um, how like a widget would look with it now, because the little small pocket in the front. So like you can mix and match with like a khaki and an amber color and just have like it look like a sunset, like two different colorings.
Oh,
I
that's a
think
good
that'd be
idea.
really
I did
awesome.
see a few. I think one person pops to mind. She made a few widgets in wax canvas, and they looked awesome. They looked so
And
good.
you can do some really cool color blocking with that. And then like if you get like I seen that you had an amber color that I think is absolutely gorgeous, and I seen a khaki, and if you add like a brown in there, it will look
Uh,
so pretty.
yeah.
I think it will look amazing.
Do you think you'd use the same interfacing as called for in those patterns if you're making it out of wax canvas, or would you kind of modify the interfacing a little bit?
I will modify it. I would
Hmm.
probably use most likely muslin, or if
Okay.
I have Shapeflex 101, I would just literally baste it on and just not use the glue settings.
Okay.
So you know how we heat it up and then we adhere it to our cotton? I would
Yeah.
just glue baste it because I'm not going to be using any direct heat onto it. Even if I
Okay.
have to spot clean it later on, the chances are that glue's probably already shed it off, or it's not going to be
Okay.
activated, because it's really hard to adhere anything to wax canvas once it's made.
Okay. So when you're talking about the muslin, like basting the fabric on, are you talking about like the heavier weights, like over 10 ounces of wax
I
canvas,
would
or
no, like all of them. For
all of
me,
them?
I think it depends on the project.
Hmm.
I usually use medium weights for the persimmon, and I don't use any interfacing when I
Okay.
give these as gifts, because I'm using like water resistant canvas on the inside, and it
Okay.
it is not a super structure as a foam, of course, but it
Yeah.
has some kind of structure, and I like it because I
Okay.
feel like there's a little bit more flexibility to put more product in there when the bag is a
Okay.
little bit slouchier. Yeah.
So even for a bigger bag like the Sky Harbor, the widget, would you still use just the muslin attached to
Yes. I
even
would
like
use.
a medium weight wax
Well,
canvas?
you could attach the foam as well, as you can do that as well too. So I would probably for the
Okay.
Scar Hubbard use the foam, or and if I wanted
Okay.
extra structure, I would use the wax canvas, muslin, and foam. But that's asking a lot for your seams at
Mm-hmm.
that time too.
Okay.
Your seam
Let's
allowance will
see.
be super thick.
Oh yeah. So since you're mentioning the seam allowance, do you think most domestic machines can handle several layers of the wax canvas, like for the strap that we talked about earlier?
Yes, I think so. I
Okay.
think if you can sew through um, foam, and you can sew through wax canvas. It's
Okay.
like our cottons or our duck canvases that we use. It's just
Hmm.
treat it so that it's water resistant.
Okay. So, okay, the next question is a question a lot of people were asking in the Facebook group. Does the wax usually rub off on you when you're carrying the bag?
No, one you just have
Okay.
to make sure it cures. If
Okay.
you wait that time, you're gonna be so happy with it. It's really a cool project. Like I have a goal to make a jacket one day out of it. I've seen so
Nice.
many cool slickers out of it,
Yeah.
and it's just really awesome.
That's awesome. Okay, so the key is curing. So as long as it cures, it's
Good.
not rubbing off on anything. Okay.
No, it won't rub off on anything.
Also, how does the fabric work in extreme weather, like a very hot car in the summer, a very cold car in the winter? Does it change? Being it, say if it's in
I
the car for 24 hours, does it look different or change?
I actually haven't. I actually have never had any issues with the heat. I was trying to think, because have I left a bag? I've left a tote and there was nothing. It was just warm to touch, just like
Okay.
a cotton bag. And I can attest to that nothing happens in the cold. Maryland gets not Chicago cold, but it gets, Eastern cold. And I've never seen any issues with it, especially because I'm kind of a basement dweller. My workroom is down in the basement, and it's
Okay.
always cold in here. And I've never seen anything look a little off about it. But yeah, no, I don't think anything. Once it cures, you're good to go.
Okay, sounds good. Um, what thread do you usually use and what stitch length?
Okay, so for my Bernina, I use a 3.5 to 4, similar to what I use with my cotton. And I'm a Waywack um, polyester based. I have used cotton and had no issues. Like I've made
Okay.
cotton bags. I just prefer polyester thread, and like a 40 weight would be fine.
Okay.
Um, I know, isn't Aurifil like backwards though? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that always throws me off.
the smaller the number, the thicker the thread. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it will be 50 weight for Aurifil and 40 weight for everyone else. That one always throws me off.
Okay, but 40
It,
weight would be okay too, right? Because that's what I
yeah,
usually use.
perfectly
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be perfectly fine.
Um, you personally, how do you store your wax canvas in your sewing room?
I like to when I get it, put it on rollers. Like I
Hmm.
keep the rollers. If you go to Joann's, if they're out of the bolts or the rollers, you can ask them for it and they usually will give
Okay.
them to you. So I like to roll it, but I have a couple of wax pieces that are really, really big that I have folded and just put up on a high shelf
Okay.
just until I'm ready to use it. If it depends on if it's corduroy, there's a whole thing of corduroy. It's absolutely gorgeous when it's waxed. So yeah, just roll it or you can fold it and just hit it with a little bit of heat if you want the wrinkles to come out, parchment paper and then heat stores. But again, it ages beautifully. It just looks like distress. It's just really beautiful.
Okay, so my brain kind of stopped in its tracks when you said corduroy. So you've actually waxed corduroy?
Yes, I've done it twice and it's amazing. I actually just made a very simple tote with it and it is gorgeous because corduroy comes in weights too, like
Mm-hmm.
duck canvas, and you can just once you start opening up that door, you're just going to let the floodgates in. Like with Tula Pink, you can do your favorite prints and they'll be kind of forever like beautiful. Now,
Uh-huh.
don't get me wrong, sometimes like with quilting cotton it can get darker or way lighter and that's when you need to do patch tests like we do with like
Okay.
sandwiching. We need to do tests to see how the color is going to if it's going to get darker or lighter and if you're going to like it. But
Okay.
yes, corduroy's one, denim. there the
Really?
possibilities are open. Yeah.
So when you mentioned the corduroy or the denim, the weights, what weights did you like when you waxed those substrates?
I I don't have the weights on those, so I'm not gonna
That's
even
okay.
fake the funk. I don't have the I don't have the weights on those. It was just something I picked up at in a store and I was like, "Ooh," or my son had like these really cute overalls and then it had like the pocket from I was like, "Well, I wonder if I could wax this and put this on a bag." And I did, and I gave it to my mom. So,
That's really cool. Okay, so like a
it was
clothes, like jeans weight that people are wearing,
yeah.
like that kind of weight of denim. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
that's
I
amazing.
and it was pretty cool because you know how our kids grow out of clothes so
Yeah.
fast.
Hmm.
You can like kind of like make something out of their clothing and give it to like your mom, or you can keep it for yourself. And it's like a forever bag because it's like it's cured in this natural
Hmm.
way that you can wear it forever without it like disintegrating over time or getting holy.
Okay.
It just it 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 ages differently than regular cotton or duck cloth. It just ages way better to me, and I don't know, I just like the way it looks. And water resistant. Live
Hmm.
in Maryland. If it's not raining, I'm worried.
I never thought about that. That's a great idea. Someone in the Facebook group also posted a picture of their Park Sling backpack. They made the bag out of wax canvas, and they had the strap also, like sort of like the kind of curved strap in the Park Sling.
Mhm.
They were wondering if you had any suggestions how to turn wax canvas in a small area like the Park Sling backpack strap.
I have not done a park sling in the canvas, but I would probably, in that case, um, will cut out the pattern pieces and like
Mm,
fold the seam allowance in on each other without turning it and just having wrong
gotcha.
sides touch. So I would just
Hmm.
have like I would carefully, very, very carefully, um, kind of fold and I use because you can't use an iron, so I use a
Hmm.
metal seam roller and I would roll
Okay.
and have it fold the wrong sides onto each other
Okay.
so that way both pretty sides and just it's going to be not top stitching and not turning because that is a very narrow
It is.
opening. So
Okay.
yeah, this is your best friend. Bone folders, for the bookbinding
Hmm.
thing, for marking and creasing. Um, you do use a little bit different tools, but you probably have all the tools already at your house for something else, and they're just use. I use bone folders and seam rollers all the time.
Okay,
I
so
have a plastic one too.
you would use those instead of you would basically be finger pressing everything or using the tools instead of ironing as you go along while you're constructing, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
because we don't want to put as much heat as we
Right.
want to. It's good for those little creases and wrinkles, but
Okay.
the idea of having it is like it to be have those creases and wrinkles, and you can't just use the heat because you don't want
Right.
to accidentally like mess up the whole curing process and then having
Okay.
spots that are not waxed now.
Okay. I think I did iron a piece, a small piece on my ironing board before, like with the iron directly on it. And I think it basically took like all the wax out because it was just like a piece of regular fabric after that.
Yeah, and that's why I try to tell people not to use heat because
Okay.
that same thing happened to me the first time. I was like, "What happened?" Same, like, what did I do wrong? Um, so now I have like these little seam rollers, which I don't even know. I think this was Kendall's, and I took it from his workroom. I don't even know what he used it for. I do have a plastic one that I use as well, and yeah, just little like tools around the house, creasing tools, owls, stilettos. Your precision tool will help round out really well with it as well.
Okay.
Like poking out corners without
Okay.
it being too sharp.
Can you use, because I have a wooden seam roller, is that okay to use?
Oh yeah, I use a plastic one and I have a metal one.
Okay.
And I've seen the wooden ones. Anything that you can help you roll out to make it a nice even surface. And it like think of it as a heatless iron because that's exactly what it does
Okay.
on wax canvas.
Um, do you feel like it frays a lot after you cut out, say like you've cut out all your pattern pieces? Do you feel like it frays?
Yes,
Okay.
it doesn't alleviate. It's still cotton,
Hmm.
um, or yeah, it's still cotton or duck canvas or corduroy or denim.
Okay.
So it's still going to be able to fray. Um, but it's just not going to be as noticeable as it without it having no wax canvas on it. It's still there
Okay.
though. Definitely don't
And
have raw edges exposed.
yeah, right,
You're gonna
right.
be like, what happened?
Okay, my last question. What type of wax, when you wax your own fabric, what type do you use? And this person wanted to know if there are also vegan or eco-friendly options.
I do use I want to say Otter. I get it
Mm-hmm.
from Amazon, and they also have a oil skin, which if you're a person that doesn't want the creases, oil skin has the same kind of formula as wax canvas, except you don't get as much creases. It's a pretty cool thing to see too, because you can wrinkle it and it doesn't have any little crinkles or anything. It has the same stability as wax
Mm-hmm.
canvas. It's just a different brand per se. As far as vegan friendly, I feel like all wax canvases, most of them are. They're not like what they used in the 15th century with like fish oil and stuff like that anymore. But they're usually some some have more dangerous things like with linseed oil, which can be very bad for you to like make stuff because if you inhale the smoke and whatever, that's another topic. But
Okay.
I feel like I get mines from Amazon, and I also buy wax bar waxes from people on Etsy,
Okay.
Sellrite. You can kind of get it everywhere, and I think it's just a very versatile fabric.
Okay. Yeah, Violet did, when you were mentioning the oilskin, Violet recently made a shoulder bag with oilskin that I had in my stash, and it is very nice also, but without like the waxiness. It's
Yes,
has a nice weight to it still. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's really beautiful fabric. Um, that's the one I prefer. My husband likes the way the wax canvas looks.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I make him anything, it's always like a heavier weight in wax canvas. He likes the way the texture is, and he likes all the wrinkles and crinkles and the
Yeah, me
pulls.
too. Yeah.
I do too. It's gorgeous because it each piece becomes like its individual thing. Like there's no two pieces of wax
That's
canvas that are
true.
going to look the same. So you're getting something that's truly one of a kind in my eyes, and its own piece of art.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the part I like about it the most, like the roughed up look and the nature of it, and yeah, it's not just a
Yeah.
flat
Same.
color. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives us so many more dimensions, and I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
just it really makes it individual. Like I know when I make this bag with it, there I can never duplicate it because
Right.
there's again no two pieces that are the same.
That's true. Well, I really appreciate you joining me for this interview. It's been fantastic, super informative, and yeah, I just appreciate you. Everyone, make sure to check out Shinova. I have Shinova's link in the description for her channel. Please go ahead and take a look, subscribe to her channel, and thank you again so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Shinova. I thought it was fantastic. She covered pretty much everything you'd ever want to know about wax canvas. However, Danny noticed a few questions coming in throughout the interview that I wanted to answer as well. So Kathy wanted to know, what is the weight of the canvas? It's beautiful. So the wax canvas that I sell in the shop is 8 ounces. I feel like that's a great weight in between. She mentioned 10 ounces for like a heavier weight. I feel like 8 ounces is the sweet spot because it's still easy at that point, soft enough to turn right side out through the opening in the lining without being stiff, which would make it difficult. So yeah, everything we carry in the shop is 8-ounce wax canvas. Winless Original says, I made myself a bag in 2019 with wax canvas. It's still going strong. That's great to hear. I feel like it's a really great and different substrate to use for bag making. Karen wanted to know, could you sew webbing to the canvas, the wax canvas for a strap? Yes, you sure could. Webbing would be okay to sew to it. Nancy wanted to know if the edges fray. So I'm going to pull out, I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera one more time. As you can see, the edges do fray, so I would not leave raw edges in your bag. Just make sure you sew it like you would a quilting cotton bag. Sew everything right sides together, finish all the edges because it does fray. I also wanted to note that we do ship our wax canvas that we sell in a roll, so we do not fold it. I've purchased wax canvas in the past that did come rolled from other places, and I kind of didn't like it because the creases were in there already and you could already see the vertical and horizontal lines. So when we started carrying it, I decided we would ship it how I would personally like to receive it, and that's rolled. So if you buy it from us, it will be rolled. Were there any other questions, Danny? Lori says, Violet sews. Yes, I forgot to attach some pictures of Violet's recent sewing makes. So a couple days ago, my daughter Violet, she's 15, she sewed a little bat plushie for her friend for a gift exchange. So she sewed that all by herself. It was her first time making a stuffed animal, and in fact, I had not made a stuffed animal before, so some of this was new to me as well, namely the hand sewing the head to the body. But it turned out beautiful. She did sew a bag over the summer with dry oilskin, which I think Shinova mentioned during the interview. So the main difference between the oilskin is it doesn't have the waxed appearance, but it's still water resistant because of the way it was created. So it just has a different look. It's a flatter look, kind of like maybe like a solid quilting cotton, but obviously it's not the same thickness as quilting cotton. But she got some more fabrics to sew some more stuffed animals. She wants to sew a horse next, so I'll definitely share pictures when she gets that done, and if I remember, I'll show the bat in a future show whenever we talk about her stuffed animals next.